What's going on, folks? This is Shadow Stars coming at you with another video. Today's video, it can be broken down into really two basic parts. First part, I'm going to talk about some more details of the ETF tracking, this is really an introduction to some of the details for it in regards to what I'll be covering on my live stream tomorrow. The second part, I'm just going to go over a little bit about the box office figures and continue on a little bit connected to what I talked about in my previous video about the National Popcorn Day. So without further ado, let's hop into it. So the first section, I said that I'd be talking about my AMC ETF tracking. So what I have here right now, so this is my output of AMC ETFs that hold AMC. Currently, I am tracking about 48 ETFs. Actually minus one. I'm going to be removing this one, the BNY Mellon High Yield Beta ETF. That's just really AMC bonds. And I'm still going through and checking other firms, other companies, to see if there's any other major ETFs that I missed out on. But for the most part, I believe I captured the real big ones. So in this list, I got JP Morgan, I got BNY, I got Invesco, iShares, which is BlackRock. I got First Trust. I got Fidelity, Schwab, Goldman Sachs, Invesco. SoFi, SPDR, ProShares. A lot of the big names that we know, I got the information on them. So these are the various tickers for all those ETFs. Got the name of the ETF. Even got the type of, ETF, how they track based on what sort of index or what sort of logic they follow, and gives you the number of shares that they hold. The thing that I want to really dig into and show you, I'll be explaining more, is this phenomenon here. If you look at the light blue colored ETFs, these are I color coded the light blue for iShares, which is BlackRock. For those who've been following AMC, you know that two of the largest institutional shareholders of AMC have been BlackRock and Vanguard. And if you've been continuing to follow the AMC saga, you know that Vanguard, I believe back in, September of last year, filed a updated, they amended their 13G filing to state that, was it a 13G or a 13D? I forgot the file type, but they filed an amendment saying that they no longer held from 40 something million down to around, I believe, 25 million, around approximately 25 million shares. So they cut a significant portion of their holdings in AMC. And you can see it. For example, I have a snapshot, or rather, I have the ETF tracking I had for November 4th, 2021. And you can see the types of ETFs that BlackRock had that were holding onto shares of AMC. So we can see that they had it in ETFs such as IWM, which is the iShares Russell 2000 ETF, IWN, which was the Russell 2000 Value ETF. And you can see, for example, IWM, the Russell 2000 ETF, they had almost 12 million shares in that ETF. But if you look now, they don't have any shares in IWN or IWM. Combined, they had 17.5 million shares. That no longer holds true. I searched through 394 different ETFs that BlackRock has. I checked every single one of them. Of those, I could only find, let's see, how many was it again? 13 ETFs that held shares of AMC. And of that, their holdings just a bit above 5.6 million shares. Now, I'm going to be showing you other SEC filings. So I'm going to be pulling up the 13F, showing what their reported position was ending on September 30th. I'm going to be showing you the N-port filings that which basically show their monthly positions in these ETFs and these index funds. I'm going to show you that. And you can see the shift. You can see how some of these index funds and ETFs that they had shares in previously, IEME, IWM, IWN, they no longer have shares in those. ACWI, EUSA, URTH, SIZE, etc. So the live stream, I'm just going to be covering some more specifics about that. I'm going to show you on live how I'm pulling up, how I'm searching for those filings, and pulling up the exact figures so you can see it for yourself. So that's what I'm gonna do in depth on the live stream tomorrow. But the big thing I just wanted to cover was that, look, of these major 40 plus ETFs now, about approximately 10 million shares of AMC, versus what it used to be, which was closer to, this was the sum, 21.5 million shares. So from November 4th to January 20th, 2023, nearly half as many shares. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that BlackRock is no longer holding so many shares in their ETFs. And another quick update is I was finally able to go through all of Vanguard's ETFs. Oops, where'd it go? ETFs, and I was able to find out that, you know what? They hold on to about almost 46 million shares. So I went through all the different index funds, ETFs, and found out that figure. So and this is just an example of how I used to track some of Vanguard's holdings. Because Vanguard, you can check on their website. Let me pull up a separate tab here. Let me search it up. Sorry about that, folks. So you can pull up, this is Vanguard's website, investor.vanguard.com. For example, look up their ETF VBR. Go down to their portfolio, and it'll tell you their holdings. They update theirs on a monthly basis. So separate from their 13F filing, separate from their N-port filings, on their website you can see it. And they tell you the disclaimer. That guess what? A lot of the times, the information will be published 10 days after the end of the month. But nonetheless, they do it on a monthly basis, so you can see how many shares. It tells you exactly how many shares. Gives you the ticker, the name of the holdings, the CUSIP number, what percentage of the fund, the number of shares, the market value, etc. Gives you all that information. And I used to track that on a monthly basis also previously. And all the various different ETFs and funds that I had to go through. So I'm just going to break it down in more depth of all the figures. Now that's just the first portion of the video. I just wanted to show you folks what goes into finding out all this information. You go to all the major websites: BlackRock, Vanguard, FlexShares, BNY Mellon, Avantis, Goldman Sachs, Invesco, JP Morgan, Nuvian, Rafi, Schwab, SoFi, SPDR, ProShares, etc. So countless of hours going through all the websites, pulling all the data, whether that's in a CSV, XLS, XLSX. Some of them stupidly just publish in PDFs. Nonetheless, downloading all the information, compiling it, and then putting it all, coding it so that you can get a nice little input or output rather of this type of table where all I need to do, run a simple Python program to download those files on a daily basis, run my program, format the data, and push it out into this table. So that's the ETF. As I said, there's more sites that I'll be going through because different ETFs might come online, different ETFs might turn off. So it's the thing that needs to be constantly updated. Obviously, it's not something I'll be spending every hour of every day updating, but maybe on a monthly basis, I'll be going through the list, checking other companies, firms, and seeing did they add to their position? Some firm that never had a position, did they add it, or are these folks reducing it? Are they shifting their shares, their holdings to a different ETF, a different holding, and so forth? So that's that. And the second part is I just wanted to cover the box office figures. So my previous video, I talked about National Popcorn Day, talked about how the news of the discount, that promotion, 50% off popcorn, could be good, but also in another sense, how it could be bad. So we have Thursday's figures. We see that top 10 gross was 6.6 million. Now, compared to the previous day, the Wednesday, it's a little bit better. But overall, if you compare to that previous Thursday, January 12th, looks like it didn't particularly do much better. It did worse, 7.2 million versus 6.6 million. So I would think based on logic that, you know what? You had less gross from your top 10 movies. I would guess that you had less people attending the movie theaters. As a result of less people attending the movie theaters, you have a higher probability that they made less in concessions. Now, I could be proven wrong that maybe, you know what, because people saw the discount, it was able to attract more of those people while less in attendance. Maybe they were able to attract more people to spend. That's certainly a possibility. But my thought is that it's more likely, it's more probable that, you know what, that 50% discount on popcorn, it didn't really attract that many more folks to buy that popcorn. That really, if you didn't hold the event of giving a 50% discount, you probably would have made much more in revenue. That's just my guess. And unless Adam Aaron or Sean Gamble, CEO from CNK, or any other person from those the two companies, Cinemark or AMC, unless one of those people officially released that, you know what, we did more in revenue, concessions revenue because of this promotion. Unless they do that, there's no way of knowing. But that's my guess. Now, we know the figure of how they did on Thursday. So how's that stack up to what it's doing for the month? So once again, I told you in a previous video that, you know what, AMC is definitely on track to beat 2022 same period January figures. And guess what? Yep, 398 million. So it has officially beat box office for January 2023 so far, has beat January of 2022. Now that's good news. You definitely want progress. we have data for the first 19 days of the month of 2023. And in 19 days, you were able to beat 2022 figures. You still have little less than half a month left. You still have 2 weekends left in the month. So I mentioned this in the previous video that because you have 2 weekends left, it's likely that you're going to beat the 15% growth projection. If you use an average 15% growth for every month versus 2022, you'd end up at that 447, 450 mil range. And you're nearly at 400 mil right now. We know that if you look at box office forecasts for this weekend, the 3-day weekend, they're probably saying 30 to 38% decline from last weekend, but that still puts it nearly at 70 mil plus, or around that 70 mil mark rather. Let's be conservative. Add 70 mil to basically 400 mil. You're at 470 mil just over this weekend alone. So you've beat the 15% projection. But the thing I'll stress is this. How does that stack up to its performance, for example, 4 years in pre-pandemic? You can still look at 2020 January because pandemic didn't hit the U.S. markets by that first month of January. It's really in part of February where it took that big hit. But let's say, okay, fine, we'll throw out 2020. You can still look at 2019, 2018, 2017. Even at 450 mil, how does that stack up to pre-pandemic levels? It's still far behind. So you really need much more than just 400, 450, or even 500. You need closer to the lines of 700 mil. And I think that 700 mil figure, it's out of reach for this year. Is it possible for next year? We'll have to see. We'll have to see what sort of consumer behaviors we see. Is that trend changing? Is consumer spending behavior changing? How is streaming impacting it? How much of a growth are we going to see in movie theaters? We'll have to see. We just need more data. We need more time to see and to evaluate. But nonetheless, this is better news. I guess, in a sense, it is good news that it's doing better than a 15% projection growth rate for the month of January. And I'll preface this with the fact that we have to see how does February do. We know that February was impacted in the fact that February tends to be a pretty slow month. You can look at 2019, and we know that February was pretty slow. A lot previous years, you'll see that, February tends to be a pretty slow month. It's slower than January. And I'll be doing a little bit more deeper analysis and including figures of how industry analysts are projecting. What they're projecting a lot of those February releases to do. So we know that Ant-Man is coming out. We know that Magic Mike's Last Dance is coming out. 80 for Brady. Knock at the Cabin. Etc. Titanic 25-year anniversary. Wow, can't believe it's been that long. Well, yeah, I'll put in the projections, put them in, and see how does that stack with what it did February of last year. How does that stack with how the movie theaters did in pre-pandemic years? But yeah, those are the two updates that I wanted to give. As I said, it doesn't look like the popcorn event. It seems unlikely that the National Popcorn, whatever holiday, whatever that event, the 50% off looks. I would guess that that probably wasn't a very good idea. That probably more along the lines handicapped AMC's revenue, handicapped CNK's revenue. Now, that's strictly just from a numbers perspective. We have yet to see other effects of it. Maybe that brings attention to the company. Perhaps people, while they might not have been able to attend on that Thursday, maybe because they saw that promotion, helps spur them, helps gives them a nudge to attend the theaters over the weekend or sometime in the future. We have yet to see all the impacts of what that promotion could have done. But just speaking on strictly a numbers figure, it looks like it probably wasn't that great in terms of their concessions revenue, in terms of their ticket revenue. And we know from looking at financials that while admissions revenue makes a very large portion of their total revenue, it's really more of the concessions, the food and beverage. That is where they make a bulk of their profit. That's where their profit margins are the greatest. That's where they need to really maximize so that they're able to operate their business and be profitable, because just selling regular tickets is not enough to keep the lights on, to pay the rent, to pay the utilities, to pay its workers, to pay its executives, etc. So yeah, that's where I'm just gonna end it for today. Another short video. I'm gonna be keeping. There's a lot of points that I'm not stating today because I'll be covering and breaking it down further on the live stream tomorrow. So hope to see you folks there. I did set up an initial notice. I believe I had it set for tomorrow, January 21st, 2023 at 8 p.m. Eastern. So I believe that's 5 p.m. West Coast time. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them down below. If you like the content, if you like the information that I provide, I'd appreciate it. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, share this video to folks you think need to see this information. For me, I got no problems. Whatever stance you hold about this company of AMC, bullish, bearish, neutral, I don't care. The only thing I'm concerned about is making sure that we put out the right information, or rather, real information that can be proven. You can show the source of where that data is coming from, and that source is reliable and trustworthy. I'm not about going over tinfoil hat theories, some conspiracy theory. I'm not into that. I'm into talking about numbers. Let's talk about the data. Let's talk about facts. If you're mature about it, if you're an adult, we can have a debate. You can talk about your points, I can talk about my points, and we'll see what the merits are of both sides. I'd love to do that. But if you're just going to be here to troll, and if your initial position is, oh, you don't agree with what I said, oh, the information that you put out, oh, conflicts with what I think, and I'm just going to insult you. I'm going to use ad hominem attacks. If that's what you're going to do, I'm not going to give you the time of day. You're not worth my time or energy to engage. And I'll be clear. I guess I need to do a disclosure every single video I do. I hold zero position in this company of AMC. I held no shares of AMC or APE. No shares of APE. No shares of AMC. No shorts of AMC or APE. I have no options of AMC or APE. No position whatsoever. And immediate family, none of them have positions in the company. Let me be clear. But yeah, please hit the like. If you got comments, questions, leave them down below. please share it with folks. And I'll see you folks tomorrow on the live stream. If not, see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Peace.